Every morning after about age 45, especially for us women, there are two signals that control hunger and fat storage that get a little more out of sync. And not just slowly, it actually can come on rather quickly. You have insulin spiking easier, and leptin, the hormone that tells your brain, I'm full, is harder for your brain to hear and respond to. By the time you notice those afternoon crashes and never quite feeling satisfied after meals, this loop has been misfiring for months, and no one told us it was fixable naturally without medications. And here's what almost no one is saying. There are 3 small shifts that can start calming this loop within 24 hours that we're going to go over today. So imagine waking up tomorrow with steadier energy, fewer urges and cravings, and dinner that actually satisfies you without going back for seconds. And it isn't about willpower, it's about restoring the signals that your body is asking for. Hi, I'm Dr. Manon Fielding, and this is 30 years of clinical experience. I'm going to show you exactly why you're always hungry, have persistent cravings, and always going back for seconds. And I'm also going to explain why the old eat less, move more advice constantly backfires, especially on women over 45. Let's get started. Okay, most people think insulin is just about your blood sugar level, and we don't really hear a lot about it until we hit midlife and they start testing us. But what about leptin? What the heck is leptin? Most people never even heard of it. And here's the thing, these two hormones talk to each other all day long, but after menopause, this conversation gets a little out of sync. And when that happens, you end up hungry all the time, storing belly fat and feeling like your body is really working against you. So let me tell you about a client. I'm going to call her Maria. She was 52, postmenopause, and doing everything right. She was eating nice salads for lunch, walking every day for exercise, but she told me, I finished dinner and I'm already thinking about what I'm going to snack on later. I never feel satisfied. And she'd hit a plateau and wasn't able to lose weight. So we looked at her HbA1c that her doctor told her was fine, but hers was 5.6. And even though she was below 5.7, which is used to assess prediabetes, it was not optimal, and it was already affecting her leptin levels. A better gauge is under 5.4. That is the time to take action. She was eating enough food, but her brain was not getting the I'm full signal. And within 2 weeks of fixing her insulin spikes and supporting the leptin sensitivity, she told me, I actually feel full now. I don't think about food every hour. And that's the power of getting these two back in sync. So now let's take a closer look at what's actually happening in your body. We'll start with insulin. So insulin's job is simple. It moves the sugar glucose molecule from your bloodstream into your cells for energy. That's a good thing. We want that. But here's what happens and what goes wrong after menopause. When you have lower estrogen, it makes you less sensitive to insulin. That means that the very same meal that used to be perfectly fine, let's say oatmeal with banana, now causes a bigger blood sugar spike. Your pancreas pumps out more insulin to deal with it, and higher insulin does 2 things. It tells your body to store fat, especially around the belly area, bad, and it blocks the leptin from doing its job of telling you that you're full. So in 2022, there was a study that found that women in early menopause had 30% less insulin sensitivity compared to before, even when body weight stayed the same. 30%. That's actually huge. And here's the kicker. High insulin also triggers rebound hunger. You know that 3 p.m. crash where you would do anything for chocolate? That's your blood sugar dropping after an insulin spike. So your body thinks it's starving and it's screaming for quick energy, sugar, carbs, anything fast. I used to live on bagels in my 20s, bagels for breakfast, Sometimes for lunch, I'd have bagel pizza for dinner. I had no idea about insulin and spikes in those days, but I was on a blood sugar roller coaster and I was hungry, tired, hungry, and my brain would shut down in the middle of the day. It wasn't until I started eating protein first thing in the morning that I realized, oh, this feels so much better, and my weight became much more manageable, even though I didn't understand why at that time. So how do you know if insulin is your issue? Check these off. Strong cravings for sweets or carbs, especially in the afternoon. Maybe getting sleepy after meals. Belly weight that just doesn't seem to budge. Maybe you notice more brain fog or trouble focusing at work or at home. You feel better after a walk or after eating protein. So if you checked even 2 of these, insulin is at least part of your story. Now, let's talk a little bit about leptin. So leptin is made by your fat cells, and it travels to your brain and it says, hey, we have enough energy, you can stop eating now, and it's your natural appetite shut-off valve. It's supposed to work. But here's what happens. The more body fat you have, the more leptin you make, but your brain stops hearing it. It's called leptin resistance. So it's like your brain has earplugs in. You're eating plenty of food, but your brain thinks that you're starving, so it keeps the hunger signal on. And guess what makes leptin resistance worse? You guessed it, that high insulin. So these almost always go together. When insulin is constantly elevated, it blocks leptin from reaching your brain, so you're stuck in this loop. High insulin, leptin resistance. You eat more, you have more insulin, worse leptin resistance, and it's a vicious cycle that keeps repeating. So a landmark study at Harvard in 2021 followed 400 postmenopausal women and found that those with the highest insulin levels also had the most leptin resistance, and they gained an average of 12 pounds over 2 years, even though their calorie intake didn't change. Their bodies were just storing more and burning less. It's not about eating less, it's about fixing these hormone signals. So how do you know if your leptin resistance is an issue for you? All right, this is their checklist. You rarely feel truly full, even after a big meal. And you keep wanting to have seconds or keep eating after dinner. Snacking after dinner. Late night, almost automatic. You've hit a weight plateau despite eating clean, and also maybe having low motivation to exercise. So because your body thinks it's in starvation mode, the desire to exercise actually goes down. Now here's the part that sounds backwards. The more body fat that you have, the more leptin your fat cells make. You think that would be good. But people carrying extra weight that have high leptin levels actually make it worse because your brain can't hear the signal. So imagine you're in a crowded, noisy room and someone across the room is trying to tell you something really important and they're shouting louder and louder, but you still can't hear because of all the noise. So what is this noise? This noise is inflammation. And when you have extra body fat, especially belly fat, it produces these inflammatory chemicals in your gut that go to your brain, and it interferes with leptin's message to your brain. So high insulin also blocks leptin from even reaching the brain. Your fat cells are screaming, we have enough energy, stop eating, but your brain actually just can't hear it. So your brain thinks you're starving, and it keeps the hunger signal on, and it slows down your metabolism. All right, so that is this vicious loop, and it's called leptin resistance. This is why weight loss feels impossible once this loop gets going. You're fighting your own biology. But here's the good news. You actually can break this cycle if you understand what's happening by lowering insulin first. because when insulin comes down, your leptin can finally reach your brain and do its job. So let's talk about some things that you can do to fix it and reset this loop. It works pretty quickly, and you don't need medications like Ozempic or Wegovy. Though I'm not saying that those are bad. Some people are going to really need them, but most of us can get the same appetite control naturally by working with these two hormones. So here's your reset plan. And it works best if you do all three of these together, but even if you just do one, make one change, it will definitely help. So number one, 20-minute meals and plate order. So what does this do? So slower eating gives leptin time to reach your brain, and eating protein and veggies first lowers your glucose spike. So what you do is you take 20 minutes to finish your meal, sipping water, chewing your food for much longer than you usually would. Make this a new habit. This is good for anybody. Not only will this help the insulin leptin loop, it also improves digestion by releasing more enzymes and helping you break down your food into smaller pieces to digest. And many of you that have digestive problems will actually find that you have improvement. All right, eat your protein and veggies first, then your starch last. In a 2023 study, it found that eating protein and vegetables before your carbs reduced post-meal blood sugar spikes by 40%. 40% just by changing the order that you eat. So you'll notice that you report right away fewer after-dinner snack urges on day one. Take 10 to 20 minute walk after your biggest meal. What does that do? It moves the glucose into your muscles without needing extra insulin. So just taking a gentle walk after lunch or dinner, even, just at a slow pace, doesn't have to be a power walk. The science behind it is in 2022 study that showed that even a 2-minute walk 30 minutes after eating improves insulin sensitivity by 25% in postmenopausal women. That's huge. Number 3, eat 30 grams of protein within 60 minutes of waking. So what does that do? It lowers ghrelin, which is a hunger hormone we're going to talk about in the next episode. It reduces insulin swings throughout the day and reduces leptin resistance. So you feel full faster and have less cravings. So the way to do this is 30 grams, looks like 3 eggs and an ounce of cheese, a cup of Greek yogurt and a scoop of protein powder, or 4 ounces of salmon or chicken, which I know may sound weird for breakfast, but give it a try. The science behind this is in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition. They found that women who ate 30 grams of protein at breakfast had 60% fewer cravings throughout the entire day compared to those who ate a carb-heavy breakfast. That's huge. So I started doing this about 5 or more years ago, and it was really a game changer because I used to be ravenous by late morning, and now I can go until lunch or later without even thinking about food. So try these shifts for 7 days, and you'll notice that your cravings will start to drop. You're not thinking about food as much, and you feel a lot more satisfied after meals. And you might even forget to snack. And if you measure your waist, you might even see that come down a bit because that insulin-driven belly fat can start to release. So one of my clients texted me on day 6 and she said, I just realized I didn't snack after dinner last night and I didn't even think about it. That's the reset happening. So now if you've been stuck in this cycle for years, it might take a little bit longer, 2 to 3 weeks, but most women feel a shift within the first week. Now, let me tell you a little bit about the bonus behind this, because fixing insulin and leptin isn't only about losing weight. It also slows your aging process, because high insulin speeds up something called glycation, which sugar molecules stick to proteins in your skin, making it sag and wrinkle faster. And it also increases inflammation inside your body, which is linked to every age-related disease, heart disease, Alzheimer's, arthritis, cancer. There was a study done in Nature Aging in 2023 that found that women with better insulin sensitivity had biological ages 5 to 7 years younger than their actual age. So 5 to 7 years is significant, and just by keeping your insulin stable. And leptin, when it's working properly, it also supports your immune system, your bone density, and even your mood. Leptin resistance has been linked to depression and brain fog. So when you fix these two, you're not just losing weight, you're turning back the clock. All right, so here's your quick action plan. Let me repeat: 30 grams of protein at breakfast every day. Eat protein and veggies first, starch last. Walk 10 to 20 minutes after at least one meal per day, just one. You can start with dinner or lunch, whatever's easiest. And if you want the full system with a weekly tracker, the recommended supplements to go along with this program, and all 10 hormones that we're going to be covering in this series, you can take the hormone quiz now. The link is in the description. You'll get your top 2 hormone priorities and access to our full midlife hormone imbalance system in the Holistic Hormone School. All right, like I said, link is in the description. And next episode, we're going to be covering the next 2 hormones, which is cortisol and ghrelin, which is the stress-hunger connection. If you're a stress eater, or you wake up at 3 a.m. and can't fall back to sleep, that's the one for you. All right, hit subscribe so you don't miss it, and drop a comment below. What's your biggest struggle? Thanks for being here. Namaste.